So your question's kind of an interesting one. You're looking to find out what to do when you're hit or miss in the bedroom, especially if you're coming back to having a very physical relationship after focusing on your career and your business for so long, so you're sort of like falling back into the dating game. What's fascinating about this question is it presumes that you're the reason for the failure when it goes bad. One of the things that shocks me in relationships is how often we're so quick to blame ourselves for when something goes wrong, when there is a very good chance, in fact a 50-50 chance, the other person is responsible for this just as much as you, and you may not be the factor. I've found nothing makes interpersonal relations improve better than not worrying about the outcome. In fact, I have a very good friend of mine, and she's a tantric sex teacher. And one of the first things that she recommends all students go through is 7 days of no orgasmic release. So they can and should have as much physical intimacy as possible, but with no release. And the goal is just to be intimate with each other without anything happening. And she's like, 2 key things happen when you do this. 1, you have no fear about it being good or bad. It just is what it is. And it creates almost like a Zen attitude to it, where you just focus on enjoying each other. And then that break away from each other afterwards causes a longing that drives you together even further. And at the end of the week, the release you both experience is so wild because it's built up so long that it's just an incredible experience. Now, granted, this is her teaching and not mine, and it's a good lesson for someone who's getting into Tantra, but you may find that a good way of dealing with this is actually to explore it with your partner and to test it out with them, discuss it with them. Something else that I found fascinating about this, and I've seen this with other people in the past, is you may feel that it's substandard, but the other person also might not. Sometimes you have a situation where you feel you're failing them and they're absolutely content and think it was a wonderful experience. And once again, this shows the number one key in relationships, which is communication. At least discuss it and find out. One of the things that I love about that as well is if you do discuss it and you find out that there are a couple of things that you're doing wrong or that they don't really enjoy, they can actually tell you exactly what they like, and it can elevate you to not only perform, but to outperform anyone else they've ever had, especially if no one else has ever been confident enough to ask them. One of the things that I found really shocking in my own life was once you have children, your partner's anatomy can change so much that the things they enjoy in bed change. So something that worked so well for 5 years suddenly doesn't work well anymore, and what you're used to needs to change in order to meet the new metrics. The problem with, especially for us guys, is women sometimes find it difficult to explain exactly what they need in the way they need it. And in fact, talking about it can ruin it. So you can find yourself in a situation where they can't tell you what they want, they know what they don't want, but if they speak to you and communicate with you about it at any point during the act, it all falls apart and it's terrible. So one of the easiest ways to make sure this isn't a problem is to get used to talking about it outside of it. Along the same lines as the tantric worker I was talking about, I actually have a really good exercise where if you're with someone you're comfortable with and you guys really enjoy each other, where you give them your body for 15 minutes a day. And so you willingly say to them, my body is yours for 15 minutes, do with it what you want. If you want it to massage you, it will. If you want to touch it, it will. If you want to touch it, then you can. Whatever you want to do to it, it's yours. There is no outcome again. There's no need for release. Just enjoy it and play and do whatever you want. If you think that, I've got a strange shoulder muscle and you want to poke it for a while, do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. What this does is it just normalizes your bodies. And when you both do this to each other, you end up in a situation where actually you feel so comfortable around each other that your bodies almost start to feel like one, almost like there is a comfort around their body as if it was your own. And that can make people relax so much that it's absolutely acceptable to then, have a situation where you're intimate, and maybe it isn't perfect, but that's okay. What fascinates me is men and women will often, when they're self-pleasuring, will sometimes find an experience where it isn't as good as it was at another time. And yet we don't critique then. We're not like, oh man, the last time I got myself off, it was great. This time it sucks. I'm such a loser, right? We don't do that. We don't beat ourselves up for it. We just accept that sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. And I think in your situation, the thing you've just got to get is that sometimes it would be better and sometimes it would be worse, and that's absolutely okay. As long as you're constantly looking for the steps to move it forward. And this really just comes down to education, communication, and sharing. And the more you get used to talking about what you do and don't like, the better the relationship becomes and the better the physical intimacy.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, man.